I grew up in a world where I was always and always will be the other. I'm gonna be the other for the rest of my life. I've made peace with that. That's just how it is. That's a line I walk with. Maybe because I was bullied as a child and was always the oddball out, that I have learned empathy for others. My heart breaks as I watch group after group be dehumanized and othered so that people can justify cruelty, oppression, and extermination. Those in power in various parts all over the world doing the othering forget that if this continues as it has for eons, they'll eventually find themselves othered and subject to the same atrocities. Round and around and around we go. This way of living brought us from the Neanderthals to present day, but now we know better. It doesn't have to be this way. Although true change may not come for a long time, certainly not in my lifetime, there's something we can do to move the needle at least a little further right now, while much of the world wants to pull us back to darker times. Try this. Have you ever looked out the window of a moving train or stood on a busy street, like New York City? I love to people watch. And realize that every single person brushing past you is the protagonist of their own epic movie. Right now, an absolute stranger is walking past you carrying a grief that would break your heart. Someone else is secretly celebrating a victory that they thought was impossible. They have childhood nicknames you'll never know, internal monologues that never stop, and a complex web of relationships, fears, and dreams that are just as vivid and demanding as yours. It's easy to forget and live your life as if you are the only real player on the stage while everyone else is just background wallpaper, extras in your production. You stay trapped in your head, you run your own scripts and become blind to the staggering depth of humanity surrounding you. But what if this narrow vision is exactly what is fueling the hate and division we see on the news? What if the cure for our collective cruelty isn't a new policy of a louder argument, but a sudden, profound shift in how we perceive other people like me, like you? In this season, we've explored the dimensions of transformation, from falling apart to mending scars with gold. Let's explore a breathtaking concept called Sonder. By the end of this video, you will understand why Sonder is more than just a poetic word. It's a high-level psychological tool for activism and inner peace. You're going to learn how to dismantle the echo chamber of your own ego and replace it with a lens of radical empathy. I'm going to challenge you to uncover your compassion and look at the biological requirement of recognizing our shared human tribe. This shift is how we stop othering and start healing a fractured world. If you're struggling with compassion fatigue, toxic polarization, or a deep sense of social isolation, and you feel like the world has become a cold, hateful place where no one truly sees anyone else, then this video's for you. For over 40 years, I've navigated the highest stakes stages in the world, from Alvin Ailey and my role as Disney executive to my time with the American Ballet Theater. I've worked with thousands of artists, executives, and high achievers. In the dance world, my job was at sometimes to teach people how to breathe as one and move as one community, how to sense the movement of a partner without even looking at them. But there's also the ego that goes into performing. We artists can become very self-centered. I'm no exception. I've got a big ego, as you might guess. You almost have to have a big ego to keep up with top-tier performers. Even if you're not a performing artist, you may be guilty of self-centeredness. You treat your challenges like they're the only ones that matter, and you view the world as a sense of obstacles rather than a community of souls. But I've learned that we can't reach our full potential if we're carrying the heavy weight of self-centeredness. I'm going to share a story about navigating a self-centered world, and later I'll give you 3 practical tools to break free from your echo chambers once and for all by performing a Sonder audit on your own life. Because walking with lions means realizing that every lion you face is also walking with their own. Welcome to Season 5 of Roar. In our last episode, we talked about post-traumatic growth, PTG, how to evolve forward after a major loss. But the ultimate goal of growth isn't just to make ourselves feel better. It's to widen our lens so we can participate in a collective consciousness. This brings us to the fringe concept of Sonder. The term was coined by Joan Koenig in the Dictionary of Obscure Sorrows. It describes that specific, dizzying flash of realization that every person you see is living a life as complex as your own. Psychologically, it's the antidote to solipsism, the idea that only your mind is sure to exist. Most of us live in a mild state of solipsism. We see an immigrant and we may see a category, not a human with a favorite song and a mother they miss. We see a political enemy and we see a monster, not a child who's been taught to be afraid and who's been lied to. As an artist, my entire career has been a study in Sonder. To be an actor or dancer is to inhabit another person's reality. This is why some believe that artists are radical leftists, and in many ways, we are. It's hard not to be. Because someone playing so many versions of people is bound to have more empathy than those who don't. When I was on stage with Alvin Ailey and dancing Revelations, I wasn't just performing steps. I was channeling the ancestral wisdom and the collective grief and joy of an entire people. I had to ask, what was it like on a hot Sunday in the Deep South in the 1940s when the only hope you had came from the church choir? What was she praying for as she fanned herself in the heat? What happened to her when she left the service when it was over? This is the artist's lens every day. I remember a time during my transition into leadership in one of my positions, I came across someone who was undermining my direction, talking behind my back, and treating me with a coldness that made me sick to my stomach. My ego wanted to fight. I wanted to prove I was worthy of respect. One afternoon in the heat of a tense meeting, I stopped, I breathed, and I practiced Sonder. I looked into their eyes and I didn't see my nemesis. I saw a person who was terrified of being irrelevant. I saw a person who might be trying to prove themselves. Maybe they were carrying something well outside of work that was coloring their mood and tolerance of my creative spirit. That's not an excuse for how they behaved, but it gave me enough empathy to walk away without escalating the situation. I was arguing with someone deeply wounded by something in their life, and that had nothing to do with me. The moment I recognized their complexity, their spine stopped hurting me. I realized they weren't mad at me. They were mad at the world that had hurt them. Using that artistic, empathetic lens didn't make me slither away in defeat. It made me impenetrable to their darts. This is the key to activism in a fractured world. When we other people, immigrants, gays, other religion, political enemies, pick your poison, we are denying their Sonder. We are reducing a billion-year-old soul into a one-dimensional caricature, an object, a thing, not worthy of our respect and worthy of our hate, our pain, and oppression. If we can look at the people we are told to hate and genuinely ask, what is it like to be you? The echo chamber begins to dissolve. You can no longer justify dehumanizing someone when you acknowledge the depth of their internal life. It's hard to do when people are actively trying to hurt you, but I practice Sonder so I don't do that same thing to them. If you want to join a tribe that values humanity over ego, then please hit that like and subscribe button. We are building a critical mass of love and light, and I need your voice in the world and in the comments. And stay with me because I'm about to give you the practical tools to make Sonder your new default setting. Science tells us that our brains are prediction machines, often relying on heuristics or mental shortcuts to categorize people quickly. Friend or foe, live or die, fight or flight, run for your life or embrace. In an instant. This is why we fall into stereotypes. But neuroplasticity proves we can retrain those shortcuts. We can choose to overwrite the othering software with connection software. When you practice Sonder, you are literally changing your brain chemistry. You are moving from a state of survival, fight or flight, into a state of harmony. So how do we walk with a line of dehumanization by using Sonder? How do we stop being passengers in our own echo chambers and start being active creators of community? Here are 3 tools to help you actively practice Sonder and build a better world. The vivid stranger exercise. The next time you're in a public space, a grocery store, an airport, a park, a library, pick one person you know nothing about. Notice the snap judgments you make about them based on their appearance. Instead, mentally narrate one secret worry they may be carrying. Of course, it's total fiction and assumptions, but go with me. This activity forces your brain to acknowledge their depth. You stop seeing them as a category and start seeing them as a brother or sister in your tribe. Enemy lens reflection. This is the hardest one, but most transformative. Identify one person whose political or social views you find repellent. Or maybe someone who voted for the situation we're in now. Let's start with those people. I can see it, those people. I can see them right now in my mind. I can see their hate and their disgust of me. I feel it, I see it. every day, but I'm envisioning that right now. Ask yourself, what happened to this person as a child that made them feel this specific fear? What would have to be true in my own life for me to believe what they believe? I literally ask myself this sometimes, trying to understand how we got here, because that's the way out, is seeing that the people that are literally trying to destroy us are actually in our tribe. And maybe they're confused, they're full of power and greed, they've been lied to. There's all kinds of things that make them fall off the track of love and community. And it is our job to get them back on track. They might not be able to do that on their own. Now, when I think about what would have to happen to me to make me behave the same way, that's hard for me because the empathy I've gained by being marginalized prevents me from really going there. I don't want to other the people who have purposely othered me and who might even get off on seeing me and people like me suffer. I don't want to do that to them. And even if you can't fully put yourself in their shoes, by acknowledging the why behind their what, you dismantle the power of hate in your own heart. And we all have a piece of it. It's hard not to in this world. Perform an echo chamber audit. Look at your social media feed, the books you read, and the friends you talk to. Are they all reflections of you? Purposefully seek out one story this week from a culture or community you have zero connection to. Listen to an immigrant story, watch a documentary on a religion you don't believe in, understand, or read a memoir from someone living with a disability. Education builds empathy. The more stories you know that aren't yours, the harder it becomes for anyone to convince you that those people aren't worth your love. That's why New York tends to be more liberal, because you're walking around and seeing thousands of people, millions of people, who are not like you. We look different, talk different, different shapes, different religions, different dress. It's incredible. I love it. It's hard to other people when you're around so many other people that are unique versions of something new to you, something new to me. So if you're around people like yourself, get around other people. It's life-changing. Recognizing the power of Sonder and the complexity of others is the ultimate tool for personal and global repair. Echo chambers are cages that keep us from our true greatness and the greatness of those around us. Fortifying or expanding your empathy prepares you for the next and final stage of Season 5, taking your perspective so high overhead you see the whole picture. Join me for our season finale, The Astronaut's Secret to Inner Peace. We'll explore the overview effect, that cognitive shift astronauts feel when they see the Earth from space. And I'll show you how to carry that macro vision with you every day to find absolute peace in a stressful world. Your ability to see the soul in another, even an enemy, is the most important step towards a better world for everyone. One planet, one tribe, one world, one love. I'll see you there.